do you want to hunt?
Because you all think that I can't. I saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready.
Maui, Nita.
Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Really, really good. Such a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise.
First of all, congratulations on the movie. Really, 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 really enjoyed it. Alien and Predator are like two of my favorite franchises of all time. But I think it's fair to say that some of the Predator movies didn't land the way I think people would have hoped them to. What is it you think that they might have got wrong that you have, in my opinion, course corrected for Prey?
Well, I mean, I think all the Predator films have had awesome bits in them. All of them have had something super cool. You know, I think this is a bit of a return to the formula of the original. It's very much a genre mashup where the first movie was more action meets horror sci-fi. This is a little bit more of an adventure suspense film meets horror science fiction. But is also a very pure survival tale. And I think our creature is, well, on the one hand, refreshingly new, I hope people find, and but also harkens back to the surprise we got from the original 87 film. That movie, when we all watched it for the first time, we're watching the cloaked form of the creature going, oh, that's the Predator. And then it decloaks and you see it in its biomask, which looked like a space helmet. You go, oh, that's the Predator. It's the space thing. And then it takes that off and you see, oh no, it's a creature. And none of the movies since then have really been able to have that formula. And that's what our movie does now. You know, we have a new way in which our cloak can function in the set pieces. And when it decloaks, our mask is excitingly new. And when it unmasks, it's yet again a new face for people to be freaked out over and excited by. So, you know, we kind of borrow from the original more than many of the others have, but also I think carve the most new path forward.
It does feel for me that it is maybe the scariest since the original as well. And there's some, I gotta say, I don't want to spoil anything. There are some fantastically vicious kills in this where it felt like you were having a ball coming up with, okay, how can we kill this person in the most original way? Was there like a moment or a particular kill where you yourself were like, I've got it. We haven't done this yet, and this is going to like blow the audience's socks off.
Yes, I mean the fun, I will say, wasn't just in figuring out, because I know it may sound shocking having watched it, but I no point wanted to feel like it's exploitative violence, like it's just like, look at how gnarly that can be, because most of the gruesome kills in the movie, you do see gnarliness, but you also don't see the gnarliest bits of that gnarliness. And so that was the fun, was thinking of ways in which we could show and hide, so that maybe it could be considered as like an elegant way of portraying the violence. I love beautiful violence. It's part of why the aesthetic for the burnt glade sequence, for instance, was heavily borrowed from the most recent Macbeth film, the Justin Kurzel Macbeth. You know, it's gorgeous cinematography and it's covered in smoke and ash, and yet what we're seeing is kind of horrific. So I love that aesthetic combination.
Yeah, I was going to ask about, like, outside of Predator, were there any like nods towards or any kind of inspiration elsewhere? Because I'm kind of guessing you're a bit of a video game fan just off the Portal and off, you were mentioned around Uncharted as well, but there's a bit with the axe and it returns, and I was like, that's God of War. That's the returning God of War. So like,
so is his shield.
Yes. So I was wondering, like, were there any kind of nods that people might not immediately pick up on that you're like, that's where I got that inspiration?
Definitely God of War, huge inspiration. The films of Terrence Malick, a huge inspiration visually. Never-ending Story is a big inspiration for us. Specific moments. And frankly, The Searchers was a massive movie we wanted to interact with, because The Searchers is a deeply influential movie, and has a really horrible portrayal of Comanche people in it. So in our film, when there's a shot where Nadu steps out of the opening of her teepee as the camera pushes behind her, and it's a direct visual reference to the opening and closing shot of The Searchers through the silhouetted doorway, which is a shot that's been mimicked in so many films since then. But we really wanted to kind of reclaim that shot for a movie led by the Comanche.
Fantastic. Dan, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Amber and Jhane, how are you doing today?
Fine, thanks.
Good. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Such a pleasure to talk to you both. I am going to get into some heavier, more important questions. But first of all, the dog. Is it maybe the best cinema dog ever? Because like every scene he came in, I was like, is there that dog? It's just incredible. I have no words.
I love that people really love the dog. It's funny to say the best cinema dog ever, because the experience didn't feel like that, but the product definitely does. I mean, that dog was like not meant to do movies, in the sense that, like, I think that she had been adopted maybe like 2 months before we started shooting, because I think you guys found, right, that
We found her. We actually had 4 dogs, because you have to have backups in case something happens or whatnot. So Coco, at that time, for that period, that type of dog is called a Carolina dog. That's what would have been, appropriate for that time.
Yeah.
And so we originally found Coco. When they went to go adopt her, because all of these dogs were shelter dogs, they were adopted. So, excuse me. So when they went to adopt her, she was gone. And we're like, no. So we had our other backups, but then we needed another dog. So they went ahead and started getting the backups, where we had miso, tofu, and what was the other one?
Gronk.
Oh, I liked Gronk. Gronk was my favorite one. Anyway, so they went ahead and grabbed those. And then for some reason, wherever Coco had been adopted, they brought her back. So then we got a phone call and said, do you still want Coco? Because Coco's available. And we're like, what? Of course we want Coco. So then that's how we got Coco.
I didn't know that story.
See, this is tremendous. Producer stuff that you never know, all the behind the scenes to make it look like it's supposed to.
So, chaos in real life, but like cute chaos, lovely chaos, and then Angel in the movie.
Listen, every scene stealer, just dog, I think is what it's called, but the doggy deserves it. Some of the action sequences in this are intense. Like there's proper moments where I was like, oh, like I was physically reacting to what was happening on the screen. Was there a particular day of stunts, or even like a singular stunt where you're like, right, all hands on deck for this one, because this is the tough one?
Oh my God, there was not a day that was not like that. Literally, I mean, like there's not a single day that I think I like woke up to go to work that I was like, oh good, today is the day I'm resting. Just and also it's like all the sequences, nothing I think was just boiled down to like a day. Everything was shot over multiple days. So whether that's like the river/bear sequence, or that's like any of the fights, those all were spread over multiple days. So I mean, it was just like challenge after challenge after challenge, but never got boring. It
didn't look it. So that's it's all on there. It's all on the screen. And it's definitely felt all the way throughout. And obviously, as we're kind of being reintroduced to the Predator in a much different time era, so we're kind of getting to know brand new, but there's also much more detail of the Comanche people in a way that I think a lot of big movies would not or have not really tackled. But I think a lot of audiences might have an inbuilt idea of what to expect. Is there any kind of detail within this film that you think audiences might not have been aware of previously, just regarding the Comanche people in this?
I think there are a lot of things, because what people expect is what they've seen in movies, and what they've mainly seen in movies is more likely wrong, because it's all like a fantasized notion, and it's people that aren't the lead characters like what Amber is. Usually we play the sidekicks or we play the villains. So this time, we're the heroes, and it's a Comanche band that's out hunting and trying to find buffalo and pack up, things for the winter to make it through the winter. So I think there are a lot of things in there. I mean, you see accuracy in color of the wardrobe, even the way the wardrobe is made, the face paint. It's not just like what you would think is your standard war paint, but it's more like when we paint for protection. So, they're painting to protect themselves, and all of that was developed not only to the character, but to the people that they are. So that way, when they put that on, you immediately saw with the boys, it changed their personality, and it really just made them like, I don't want to say regal, but since we're in London, I guess I can say that. But it made them, just you could see a difference in their spirit. Definitely a big change. But even with that being said, there are some things like the nuances which people don't even know. Like for us, Comanches don't whistle at night, because we believe that if you whistle at night, it brings bad spirits. They know where you are because you're whistling. But I was able to use that, and I begged Dan to do it, because he was like, this scene just needs something. I don't know what it is. And we were reading through the scene, and then we even reshot it with Amber, and her tribe doesn't whistle at night either. So we were shooting this at night, and I walk up and I said, I know what it is, because I had talked to Dan. He goes, you really think a whistle's going to change it? I said, Dan, we just have to shoot it. Just shoot it for me twice, and then let's see how it works. And so we were shooting that scene. She shot at she had no idea about the whistle. So poor thing.
Jane told me, and then I was like, why?
I walked up to her and I said, okay, so this time when you deliver that line in your painting, I want you to, at the end, just look at him and then just whistle. And she said, why? We don't whistle at night. And I said, exactly, but you're calling the predator, and the predator is going to come walking in, because she's leveling up. She saw her brother get skewered. She's ready to go, right? So the last thing, like bad luck, does it bother her now? Not at all. So she whistles. So then you see that predator come, because she wants the predator to come there, because she's ready to fight him. So we shot it twice. And then I flew back to New Mexico, and then I get a call from Dan when they're looking at all the footage and everything in post. And he's like, oh my God, you were right. That creepy whistle. He said, it's just, it's really creepy, and it makes the scene. So if you didn't have a native producer or somebody, like a native producer that doesn't know their, or that doesn't know their tradition, you wouldn't have that in there. And that's something I could just throw in there at the last minute, and it makes perfect sense. Never been in a movie. And how long have we been making movies? Never been in a movie.
No, and that's like, it's little details like that, and it's tremendous. And I think it's fantastic that you can call attention to it in that way, but also that viewers who might not know will just enjoy it, because it was a fantastic sequence anyway. The axe, specifically the returning axe, because that was cool. The first time you threw it and you pulled it back with the rope and you caught it, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Is that something you had to train with an awful lot, or is the returning axe, is that something that is that true to like history, or is that created just for this movie? Because either way it was cool, but if not, like that was kind of really attention grabbing for me as well.
A good question. I mean, I feel like surely somebody at some
It's
point
true. It's true to history. It's true to history, but we made it more so for her character. And the axe was her best friend. Because before she ever flew and came to set or came to production, we mailed her a couple of axes. So that way she could hold them, flip them from hand to hand, do what she needed to do. So
it's true. Yeah, that was like, that was, I feel like, one of the earliest things that Dan and I started talking about, definitely. And and so much of, even just like, we had a 4-week boot camp, and so much of the boot camp was just like everybody figuring out like, what is the coolest thing you can do with this plethora of weapons, and mine was always that. It was like, well, what is it? Can you flip it around a bunch of times? Can you flip it in the air and then catch it? Like, can you throw it up to your hand with your foot? Like, what can we do? What can we incorporate? And that's, to the credit of Dan, also being very like open and collaborative to everybody's like skills and abilities.
Tell me
I just
do it. And you.
Oh yeah, there was a like, even it's a small moment, but the scene where like my hands are bound and I like throw it up and do that, like that was not originally a part of it, but that was a moment where Dan again was like, I feel like this needs something, and we're just sitting there, and I was like, I don't know, could I like try to do it behind my back? Could I do it? And I like threw it up, flipped it, and then like did it. And that was like the only time I did it perfectly. And then we just spent like trying to do it. And then finally, like, it was very like parallel to the experience of like, we weren't getting it. And he was like, maybe we should just move on. Maybe it was a fluke. And I was like, I got this. And it was like, and that one that I was like, no, I got this. I promise. We did it, and then like got it perfect and moved on.
it looked awesome. It looked like rad. It looked really cool. One final very quick question, if that's okay. No spoilers whatsoever. None whatsoever. But I will say the very end of the movie does tee up a future installment. Do you know what that might be? Have there been any conversations about it at all?
We can't
Okay.
really say, but
don't know.
yeah, I mean,
Nobody tells me.
it would be wonderful. Yeah, poor thing. She's just finding out things
I'm
today.
hearing stories for the first time right now. I don't know anything.
But how did you like the end credits? Where the end credits rolled and it told the little story and everything?
That's
That is on that's on Hide Art, which is for that time period. That's the correct type of art, and we had real native find artists create all of those for us.
That's how like war stories were actually told, like back in the day,
Yes.
to like preserve like what happened, of like there was like a big battle or something. That's how that would be preserved.
yeah, like that's what I'm referencing, like the very end credit stuff where I was like, that's beautiful, and also
Interesting.
But
You're
we'll
a
see.
smart one. You're a
Fingers
smart one.
crossed. Amber and Jhane, thank you so much for your time today.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Have a good day.
Whatever did this, I can kill it.